Good morning. Welcome to the presentation. Today's class is Introduction to Financial Markets. In this series, we'll talk about financial instruments, we will define asset classes, we'll talk about the financial markets that exist in the United States, then we'll talk about corporate finance and discuss stocks, stock ownership rights, the markets that stocks trade in, and what exchanges they trade on. Then we'll talk about derivatives, we'll define the types that exist and the exchanges that derivatives trade on in the United States. Then we'll talk briefly about probability theory. Now, an asset is any item of value that can be owned, and a financial instrument is a special type of asset. A financial instrument is an asset that represents a legal agreement. An IOU is an example of a financial instrument that represents a legal agreement. And there are many types of financial instruments. For example, stocks, bonds, treasury bills, bonds and notes, certificate of deposits, personal loans, futures contracts, forwards, options contracts, and swaps. Now, a stock is a financial instrument that represents ownership in a company. And a bond is a financial instrument sometimes referred to as a debt security, in which the issuer is obliged to repay the principal and interest. A futures contract is a contract that obligates the owner to buy an asset at a predetermined price on a predetermined date. And an options contract is a contract that gives the owner the option to either buy or to sell, depending on the type of contract, a financial instrument at a predetermined price on a future date. An asset class is a group or classification of financial instruments that share similar characteristics. And there are three generally accepted asset classes. We have equity-based asset classes, and those include stocks, equity options, and equities futures contracts. We also have debt-based assets, and those would include bonds, bills or notes, certificate of deposits, commercial paper, and other types of loans. And we have cash-based assets, for example, money markets, foreign exchange instruments, etc. And some financial professionals represent other tangible asset classes like real estate and commodities. Now, a financial market is a marketplace in which financial instruments are traded, and there are four primary financial markets. They include the stock or equities market, the bond or the fixed interest market, the derivatives market, and this is where futures and options contracts trade, and the foreign exchange market. Now, in the United States, regulation of the financial markets is the responsibility of the Securities and Exchange Commission, or the SEC. The SEC was formed during the Great Depression after the stock market crash of 1929. It was created by the Securities and Exchange Act of 1934. They're headquartered in Washington, D.C., and they have approximately 4,000 employees, although we expect that to increase over time. The original purpose and powers of the SEC included the regulation of stock markets and the prevention of corporate abuses related to reporting and sales of security. And the SEC was given the power to license and regulate the stock exchanges within the U.S., companies that issue stock, and stockbrokers and dealers. Currently, the SEC is responsible for administering 7 major laws that govern the securities industry. They include the Securities Act of 1933, the Securities Exchange Act of 1934, the Trust Indenture Act of 1939, the Investment Company Act of 1940, as well as the Investment Advisors Act of 1940, the Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002, and the Credit Rating Agency Reform Act of 2006. The SEC can bring civil enforcement actions against individuals or companies who are alleged to have either committed accounting fraud, engaged in insider trading, or have violated any other securities law. In part 2 of this presentation, we'll discuss corporate finance, we'll talk about stocks and what ownership rights we have, we'll discuss the markets that stocks trade in and the exchanges that they trade on. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And please visit our website at www.fgam.us. Thank you for joining us, and good luck with your trades.